What's up everybody and welcome back to another Brohammer video. Today we're going to be talking about, in general, some AI stuff, which has been quite interesting. I had this Substack come through into my inbox and I kind of wanted to save it to talk about it because just skimming through it, I've seen some details in it which I think was really interesting, and I have some perspectives that I think I can offer, which is kind of what this channel is meant to be. I'm a software engineer, been doing PHP for years now. At this point I do general development across lots of different code bases. C#. I've tried some C++, not much. I'll admit, I want to try and do more cool things, but alas, PHP pays the bills. So let's start off. Make Judge. So check out his Substack, makelovesrobots.substack.com. What a guy for writing this up. So where's the shovelware? Why AI coding claims don't add up, which I think is a really interesting title, and based on some of the graphs I've seen, it'll be good to get into it. So I'm furious. I'm really angry, and I'm angry and I'm knocking down sandcastles and punching Daniel LaRusso in the face. Oh. I'm not an angry person generally, and I can't stand what's happening to my industry. I know software development. I've been doing it for 25 years, maybe even 28 years. Damn, this guy's been doing software development for nearly as long as I am old. I'm 28, so yeah, he's up there. If you count market research tabulation on amber monochrome screens, yes, I'm old, I'm a middle-aged programming nerd, my entire life and personal identity are wrapped up in this programming thing for better or worse. I thrive off the dopamine hit from shipping cool things, don't we all, don't we all? I was an early adopter of AI coding and a fan up until maybe 2 months ago when I read the Meter study. Let's open that up, see what this says. Am I going to need to zoom in? It's a good chance we need to zoom in. Measuring the impact of early 2025 AI on experienced open source developer productivity. Oh, this is a dodgy one because a lot of open source devs really hate AI enhanced productivity because it means that people are like finding open issues on like Git and then just asking the AI to go solve it so they can try and get credit for it. It's pretty interesting. Apparently that is Curl. I think they get quite a lot of dodgy requests that they have to like spend a lot of time in debugging and seeing if there was actually a problem, and it turns out there isn't. The AI is just hallucinated, and there's people just running AI in like corporate situations and production software without any worry whatsoever, and it can't even do that right. Oh dear. We conduct a randomized control trial, RCT, to understand how early 2025 AI tools affect the productivity of experienced open source developers working on their own repositories. Surprisingly, we find that when developers use AI tools, they take 90% longer than without. AI makes them slower. That's interesting. We view this result as a snapshot of early 2025 AI capabilities in one relevant setting. As these systems continue to rapidly evolve, we plan on continuing to use this methodology to estimate. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, against expert forecast and developer self-reports, L25, AI slows down experienced developers. Wow, okay. So, economist expert. Oh, okay, so this is like... this is your experts, basically. So, your economics experts are like, guys, the economy is going to boom. We're going to see some AI stocks going... I want to see some big numbers, and it turns out maybe they had another agenda. Machine learning expert forecast, obviously they want to sell you all the shiny tools, so they're going to be like, yeah, you won't need developers anymore because our model will just do it for you. Developer forecast during study. I think a lot of developers were quite hopeful with AI, and it works until you actually have a problem on your hands and it doesn't work. Developer estimate after study. So this is where I think a lot of developers will maybe come into the wall that I personally have, which I'll go into a bit later. And the observed result they're sort of seeing is there's no benefit whatsoever using AI tools, it seems, which is really funny. In this RCT, 16 developers with moderate AI experience complete 246 tasks in large and complex projects. See, that's the problem. Large and complex projects, a lot of tasks. AI is not good at it. You've seen Microsoft coping hard on trying to use AI in the .NET Git repository, and you can see a lot of the comments of them just battling with Copilot, trying to get it to actually do the right thing, and it doesn't do it. It is depressing. Where coding agentic benchmarks have been proven useful for understanding AI capabilities, they typically sacrifice realism and skill for efficiency. They do, because whenever someone comes out and says this new GPT model is the best model ever for coding, I'll give it a filament-free repository, and I'll ask it to go and set it up, give it the documentation, and it'll fail like 90% of the time because it's not read through, it doesn't know what it's actually doing. One problem as well is that if you have software which has been updated recently, so for example, Filament 3 to Filament 4, you're not going to have your AI understanding anything to do there other than the like fine-tuning almost that you can do in the prompt, and well, the prompt that you can have, and then maybe the fine-tuning later on that they can try and do in regards to like newer software that gets released. So one of the problems there is that it doesn't know how to use the new packages, the new updates, the new this, the new that, and it will try and do things in the old way, which I think is why when I tried to get it to do Filament 3 originally, I got a lot of Filament 2 code because it wasn't sure what to do. And we'll probably have the same problem with Filament 4 because Filament 3 is so popular, all these models are trained on Filament 3, they're not going to be doing it right, so we'll see. Anyway, reading on. These tasks are self-contained, they don't require prior context to understand. That's, wow, okay. And they use algorithmic evaluation that doesn't capture many important capabilities. These properties may lead benchmarks to overestimate AI capabilities. Oh wait, I get it, yeah, they don't require context, so this is the benchmarking tools. Yeah, I get that. Overestimate capabilities. In the other direction, because benchmarks are run without live human interaction, because they run themselves, models may fail to complete tasks despite making substantial progress. Okay, so they get like so far through it but they don't finish the task because of small bottlenecks that a human would fix during real usage. I'm not necessarily sure what that means there. This will cause us to underestimate model capabilities broadly. It can result in difficult to directly translate benchmark scores to impact in the wild. Okay. One reason we're so interested in evaluating AI's impact in the wild is to better understand AI's impact on AI R&D itself. Yes. Yes, because it's at that point where AI can improve itself is when you have like a true AI. It's that kind of thing, right? It may pose a significant risk. For example, extreme AI progress could lead to breakdowns and oversight of safeguards because, again, it's Skynet. Like, if an AI can improve itself, then what's to stop it building defense mechanisms to stop it being hurt? And then what's to stop it from understanding what it is that's hurting it? What's to stop it from understanding that the term clanker is a derogatory term towards AI? And then what's to stop it from launching nukes at Billy up the street who made a mean tweet? Like that's like the kind of snowball effect that you just do get with AI. There's like no real escaping that if you don't have safeguards, and these safeguards don't exist if AI can just change itself. If you know what I mean. Like, I don't think we've got that far yet. I think it's one of those, like, I don't necessarily know if this is like a real thing in physics or whatever, but kind of like nuclear. It's like when they were doing the first nuclear bomb and they weren't sure. Well, they were sure. They were like 99% sure that it wasn't going to blow up the atmosphere. But it's still that 1% or whatever the percentage was where they were like, well, it could. I've done the maths. It shouldn't happen. But if it does happen, then we're all dead. And it's like, but what about AI? If it can do this self-improvement, blowing up the world thing, then do we just do it and hope and do the same thing that we did with nuclear and hope that it doesn't blow up the world? Not too sure. One reason we're interested in methodology. So this is just going into the methodology, and they go over. Oh wow, yeah. So they go into basically the basic repos, the bugs that were raised, all the issues that were raised. AI disallowed, AI allowed. Okay, so they basically try and get it to actually implement or do the issue. Developer training. That's pretty cool. So sorry if you guys can't see that. They actually do train the devs on how to use the agentic AI, which is pretty cool. Developer, so they actually use developers to have contributions. They said that before. And yeah, they then So I'm just wondering, so label recordings with activity test, get test, code test. So this is the person doing this with AI disallowed, so they do it quicker than what the AI would. But I don't think necessarily it's the same. Oh wait, no, look, it is. It's the same thing. So forecast AI disallowed 1 hour. Forecast AI allowed 45 minutes. But actually, it takes longer. So is this the same issue that they're trying? Okay, so in fact now I'm going to read it because now I've seen that. To directly measure the real world impact of AI tools on software development, we recruited 16 experienced developers from large open source repositories, averaging a lot of stars, a lot of lines of code they've contributed to for many years. Developers provide a list of real issues, 246 in total, that will be variable to the repository. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Then we randomly assign each issue to either allow or disallow use of AI while working on an issue. When AI is allowed, developers can use any tools they want. But obviously, I think the thing at the time with this was Corsair. Corsair's quite a cool tool. I actually use it to build a blockchain tool, but it was horrible. It produced the worst code I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not even a Python developer, so if it can do worse than me, then that's saying something. Of Claude 3.5, 3.7 on it. When disallowed, they work without AI generative assistance, which is interesting because I guess that means they don't get into the sort of autocomplete stuff or anything like that. I find that quite nice, but also it does kind of send you down the wrong path sometimes. And I guess that's what actually does that time change. That's really interesting, actually. Okay. Developers complete these tasks, which average 2 hours each, while recording their screens, then self-report the total implementation time they needed. We pay developers $150 an hour as compensation. $150 an hour? My God, that's pretty good. And yeah, it shows quite simply here: expert, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, observed. They were way down here. That's pretty cool. When developers are allowed to use AI tools, they take 19% longer to complete issues. A significant slowdown that goes against developer beliefs and expert forecasts. This gap between perception and reality is striking. See, the problem I have here is the kind of developers that you're giving these tools to. Is there a argument that if you're older and you don't use AI tools, that you're just not as equipped to like change over to doing it? Kind of like, you know, if you're like if you chop down trees for a living and some guy comes along with a chainsaw and you don't really want to figure out how to use it, you just like using an axe. Is that kind of what we're seeing here? And that's not to like beat on people that are like older in the sort of employment, or older in the sort of industry or whatever. Like obviously that all matters, but like, is that a thing? I just don't know. Is age a factor with any of this? It'd be good to actually know what the age of the group here was. Because again, we were reading that article to begin with. That guy has 25 years in industry, and he's writing a basically AI bad article, which is very fair. He's probably right as well with what he's saying. But if you're noticing that everyone that's having problems with this is over a certain age, and the people that actually like AI tools are under a certain age, then maybe that says something. I don't know if that's like a thing. We might see it in this post. Let's see. So average developer forecast. Yep. Basic graph shows AI terrible. Observed AI allowed. Yeah. Okay. It does make me wonder if like I'm trying to think of stuff that I've done with AI. But if I never had the AI, would it be any quicker? I don't think it would. Again, I'll come onto my personal experiences with AI and tell you why I think that. But yeah, it's just making me think. Given that both importance of understanding AI capabilities and a diversity of perspectives on its topics, we feel it's important to forestall potential misunderstandings or overgeneralizations of these results. Okay. We do not provide evidence that AI tools do not currently speed up many or most developers. We do not claim that our developers or repositories represent a majority of the work. That makes sense. Yeah, they're not saying this affects everybody. It's just what they've gathered based on their research here. I think that's fair. this is the big thing. They don't want people to overgeneralize. They probably want more research to come out as well, so they can basically cross-reference and see what's going on. AI systems do not speed up individuals or groups or domains in our software development. We only study software development. Yeah, okay. AI systems in the near future will not speed up. Yeah, progress difficult to predict. That makes sense. There are not ways of using existing AI systems more efficiently. Cluster does not sample. Yeah, so basically they're saying that you could change any number of one of these variables here and it might result in different results, but they're not too sure yet because they haven't checked that. And then diversity factor analysis discussion. I'm just going to skim through the rest of this, see if there's anything here worth talking about, but the overarching conclusion is, yeah, they're going to basically run future studies and see what's going on. So what can I go back to this article where he referenced the meta study and see what his conclusion is based on what we've just seen. So he was this guy. I was an early Mike Judge. This guy. I was an early adopter of AI coding and a fan until maybe 2 months ago when I read the meta study, and suddenly I got serious doubts. In that study, the authors discovered that developers were unreliable narrators of their own productivity. That's fair, because we've seen that developers were saying this is making me more efficient when it wasn't. And the thought that AI was making them 20% faster, but it was actually making them slower. This shocked me because I had just told someone the week before that I thought AI was making me about 25% faster, and I was bummed it wasn't a higher number. I was only off by 5% from a developer's own incorrect estimates, which is interesting because I'd probably agree with the same kind of thing. I would even say 100% faster, because there's some issues you just don't want to bother with, and it'll take you an eternity to get around. And if you can just tell an AI, hey, look, go figure this out. Like, if you have CSS, like, spacing issues or whatever on, like, a page, and someone's raised it and it's a low priority issue, and you can just go, hey, Copilot, could you go and check this and make sure it's alright? And you can just deploy that and see if it fixes the issue. That does kind of speed things up so that you can, like, go and do something else, but you also have to be the one that's assigned to Copilot, then checking the PR, and then if you were just doing it in the first place, I guess that time isn't really being spent any quicker. Instead of doing the code and writing it yourself, you're now reviewing the PR, which probably takes longer to read the code anyway. Whereas if you're writing it, then you do know what you've wrote, and you don't need to review your own code, not necessarily. You can skim through it on a PR and see what it does. But yeah, I think I can kind of see where this is going. Unless you just push things live, in which case you're a madman, and I love that. I love that energy. This was unsettling. It was impossible not to question if I were too an unreliable narrator of my own experience. Yeah, that makes sense. Was I hoodwinked by the screens of code flying by and had no way of quantifying whether all that reading and reviewing of the code, there we go, I was just talking about that, actually took more time in the first place to just do anything for myself. Okay, I feel that me and Mr. Mike Judge are hitting on the exact same lines here, because I get the feeling that, yeah, we're talking about the same problem probably happening here, where if you reviewed it, if you're reviewing something that someone else has done, it's probably taking a bit longer than if you just wrote it yourself and just pushed it out. So I started testing my own productivity. Oh my god, discover more. Okay. I recommend subscribing to this because it's pretty cool. So I started testing my own productivity using a modified methodology from that study. Links are in the description, by the way, for all this. I take a test and estimate how long it would take to code if I were doing it by hand. I flip a coin, heads I use AI, tails I just do it myself. Then I'd record when I started and when I ended, and that would give me some data. Give me the delta. So basically the same sort of study that they were doing before. And I could use the delta to build AI versus no AI charts and see some trends. I ran it for 6 weeks. My god, good on them. It takes me, like, I would forget by day 2 that I was doing this. I ran it for 6 weeks, recording all that data, and do you know what I discovered? He's gonna have came to the same conclusion, isn't he? Alright, so personal productivity ratio of actual estimated bigger is worse. Okay. So no AI, then he's used AI here, AI. Oh, but there's 450 here for AI. Oh wow, okay. So if the line is bigger, so I think what we want to kind of see is the blue ones should be down quite low, or 1 effectively, and the AI ones should be quite high, and you're kind of seeing that actually. But also you're kind of seeing that the AI ones are doing quite well down here. Don't get me wrong, the top hitters are AI, but you're going to have those issues where AI just doesn't know what it is that it's doing, so you're going to have to like play around with it and try and fix it. I discovered that the data isn't statistically, my god above, significant at any meaningful level. That I would need to record new data points for another 4 months just to prove if AI was speeding me up or slowing me down at all. It's too neck and neck. Yeah, I probably agree with that actually. That lack of differentiation between groups is really interesting. Yes, it's a limited sample and could be chance, but also so far AI appears to slow me down by a median of 21%, exactly in line with the meta study, and I can definitely say that I'm not seeing any massive increase in speed, i.e. 2x using AI coding tools. If I were, the results would be statistically significant and the study would be over. That's really disappointing. I wish the AI coding dream were true. I wish I could make every dumb coding idea that I ever had a reality. I wish I could make a fretboard learning app on Monday, a Korean trainer on Wednesday, and a video game on Saturday. I'd release them all and I'd drown the world in a flood of shovelware like the world had never seen. Well, I would if it worked. It turns out though, I've collected a lot of data on this. It doesn't just not work for me, it doesn't work for anyone, and I'm going to prove that. So I'm guessing what he's going to do here is just take a look at all the sort of released products before and after AI, and then kind of see what's if there's any change in that number. But first, let's examine how extreme and widespread these productivity claims are. Corsair's tagline is built to make you extraordinarily productive. Claude Codes is build better software faster. GitHub's Copilot is delegate like a boss. Google says that LLMs make their developers 25% faster. Trust Google to not have a tagline, God. OpenAI makes their own bombastic claims about their coding efficiencies and studies, and my fellow developers themselves are no better, with 14% claiming they're seeing a 10% increase in output due to AI. I believe his sources here, we won't click into them. Delegate like a boss, GitHub Copilot. By the way, can we just take a minute to understand that as developers, if you have GitHub Copilot and you've assigned it any issues or any PRs or anything like that, you cannot tell me that it's came back with a 100% success rate. You can't delegate to it. You have to do the work yourself. The many times I've gave it issues, it's came away with 100% and I've not had to change anything at all, but there's ones that it doesn't do that with, which means you have to have that level of toddler hand-holding with every single issue in case it gets anything wrong. And it just doesn't speed up anything because instead you're just kind of watching it do the work and then clicking approve if it looks alright, or doing the test yourself to see if it actually does work. There's a lot of things you can't really trust with it, especially when it comes to automated browser tools and stuff like that. There's only so much you can test for without actually going into the app and seeing yourself if it's actually broken. If I'm sitting here running all my composer tests but my website's offline, telling my customers but the test pass, it must be fine, doesn't really work, especially if the AI is not building the tests that go along with it. And the amount of times I've seen AI instruction tools say build test for any new features that you do, and it doesn't do them, and then they're shipping features that they then change further down the line, and there's no test to make sure that those things are doing the same things that they should be. It's a bombshell. It's a bomb waiting to blow up, or however you say it. Anyway, moving on. Our minute of talking about something else is now over. These claims wouldn't matter if the topic weren't so deadly serious. Tech leaders everywhere buying into the FOMO, convinced their competitors are getting massive gains they are missing out on. Businesses are closing up, are shutting down thousands of jobs based on proposed AI gains. This drives them to rebrand as AI-first companies, justify layoffs with newfound productivity narratives and lowball developer salaries until the assumption that AI has fundamentally changed the value equation. And yet, despite the most widespread adoption, one could imagine these tools don't work. My argument, if so many developers are so extraordinarily productive using these tools, where's the flood of shovelware? I'm shoveling it all out there, it's just all private and nobody looks at it because I have issues getting it crawled and doing any marketing for it whatsoever. We should be seeing apps of all shapes and sizes, video games, new websites, mobile apps, software as service apps. We should be drowning in choice. We should be in the middle of an indie software revolution. We should be seeing 10,000 Tetris clones on Steam. To be fair, Steam does have a barrier now. You have to pay like $100 to get your game listed on Steam. And if you're using AI to build it in the first place, I don't necessarily think you have the confidence that you can make that $100 back. Instead of this, with all you know about AI-assisted coding and its wide adoption, if I showed you charts and graphs of new software released across the world, what shape of that graph would you expect? Surely you'd be expecting to see exponential growth up and to the right of as adoption took hold and many people started producing more. Well, I would totally agree with that. I think, if I'm going to be candid here, what I would expect to see from those graphs is AI, like, you have your standard sort of things going up because more developers are entering the scene, more industries, more countries coming online. India's a powerhouse just now of like just developers coming out of there with like GitHub repositories, just making new projects, whatever else. I've seen some of the people that comment on discussion boards. I go into the profile and they've got like tons of projects that are just like social media apps and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're busy. But like you would kind of expect to see normally that going up. But then when you bring AI tools into the equation, and my mum could buy an AI subscription and just get it to write and produce apps for her and whatever else, you would expect to see that going up. But then now that I've said that, maybe you wouldn't, because why would she do that? So she's still not going to understand how to actually use that code or like put it on the app store or anything like that. Yes, you can ask ChatGPT to help her like get it live and stuff like that, or get it on a device, but that's a lot of work. Maybe the only people that would be powered by this are developers, and they know how naff it really is. So yeah, maybe you wouldn't see that rise now that I think about it. But I get it. A lot of people out there, they want to start making new apps and stuff like that. I would expect to see a big bump in the sort of numbers. So it's the average number of iOS app releases per month. Now, what I think is really interesting about this, as you can see, is pretty damn flat. So it's between March 2019 and April 2025. So that's the AI period. That's also COVID and stuff like that. But what I think is interesting is iOS. I don't know if they have some kind of restriction on like AI developed apps and whether they allow them on the App Store. So that might be something to note. I'm not too sure. Android app releases from Google, I probably wouldn't think that they would have any restrictions on that. Google have always been quite open and free about that sort of stuff, at least from what I know. But you can see it's actually went down. Google's went down. Global domain name based trends, it's been up 5.5%. But yeah, there's not the massive uptick that we would expect to see with like a bunch of new companies coming online or a bunch of new businesses coming online. Like in terms of me, like to be brutally honest with you guys, I've done a few AI projects. So brohammer.com, that is completely basically AI created. I did that in Inertia with Vue, and I changed it over to using Livewire with Vue because I couldn't get SSR to work correctly. And that's not an AI thing, that was just me. I couldn't get SSR to work correctly. Interestingly, I have SSR working correctly on Streambit TV, an application that I built myself, not using AI, before AI was even a thing. And interestingly, the one that I used AI with doesn't have SSR working correctly. I don't know what's happening now, but it's a problem that I didn't want to deal with. Which, again, this is the AI mentality. It's if AI can't solve it, I really can't be asked about it. So we've got Brohammer. That's just a landing page for sort of gaming content creators to put their stuff up on, write posts, and have a live chat and stream to. So you have that. And then they've got What's My Cost, which was when the UK was having a energy crisis. I built the website, what'smycost.co.uk, something like that. And it was able to convert any sort of wattages that you would be using. So a 500 watt air conditioner, if you're running that per hour, what would that cost you? Or if you're running that the full day, what would that cost you? It's just a really easy way of seeing what your appliances around the house are costing you per hour, per day, per week, per month. Which is pretty cool. That was all built using AI, as far as I'm aware. It was all just, I think it was a Next.js app. I actually can't remember. It may have even been just been Laravel with Inertia.js, but that was at the start of the AI period. I can't remember. I've not looked at the code in that long. I think I've even archived it on GitHub. But that's been offline for ages because nobody ever used it. Neither did I, because I just bought those little plugs that go into the wall and tell you the wattage reading, and then I just do the calculation myself without using my own app. So that, and then I did a couple of feedback feature related stuff with AI that's like kind of up there. So there's one that's not really basically doing anything at the minute. I'm trying to think of anything else that may have been AI. I did a full kind of rewrite. Nah, not really that. Maybe like 2 or 3 projects that I've done. Oh, there's also another thing that I'm doing called lock keys, and that's all completely AI as well, using Next.js and React. That's not necessarily, but this is the thing, these are just landing pages. This isn't actually the core brunt of the business. Like, it doesn't actually, like, it's not really what you're selling. It's just landing pages. It's not really that interesting. So, yeah, if I've done 3, and the average developer probably makes 3 projects in that time themselves, then yeah, there probably is just not that much change, because instead of me producing software for myself, for my own business, I'm doing it for a development studio. So, and what's interesting is all their repos are private. So, I suppose I don't know if you would see that. Steam new releases per month. As you can see, it's not completely bombastic as you would expect with AI. And new public GitHub repositories. That's also the kind of worry that I have here, is that if you're using AI code, are you going to want it to be public? Maybe not, because you might be a little bit embarrassed that you've used AI. You don't really know what it does, so a lot of things are going to be more public or more private. But you would still expect to see some sort of increase here, I would accept. Most interesting thing about these charts is what they're not showing. They're not showing a sudden spike or hockey stick line of growth, like all the companies are telling us has been happening. They're flat at best. There's no shovelware surge. There's no sudden indie boom occurring post 2022, 2023. You could not tell looking at these charts when AI-assisted coding became widely adopted. The core premise is flawed. Nobody's shipping more than before. I always find that a lot of these things, if we can take a little minute, if you want something to get done in an app, if you have an idea for an app, especially if you're working for the man, effectively, a lot of these things are dictated by product and product development and project managers. So if you want anything to change, it has to go through them first. And they're the bottleneck when it comes to a lot of these things. So your developers could rattle out all the features within 1 second. But if your product developer doesn't want it done, or your project management doesn't want like that to go out at a certain time, maybe they want to hold off so a client will pay for the bespoke development for it, and then it'll get released with everyone that way. Like there's a bit there that happens. There's a bit of politics there that happens. So the reason nobody's shipping is because they don't want to. At the end of the day, it's a very lucrative industry whenever you have a SaaS product that you don't need to innovate on because there's no other competitors. Why would you use AI and pay AI bills when you don't have to? I'm actually just seeing now some of the products that I've been aware of that have had that kind of lucrative experience in the market are just now shipping AI features, and even then they're not that cool. They're just like reports and stuff that just tell you cool things like to do with your data and stuff. That's kind of it. But you can't really trust that because AI hallucinates, so it's not really able to be used. Which is that really weird thing about AI, is nobody can kind of use it. The impact on human lives is incredible. People are being fired because they're not adopting these tools fast enough. People are sitting in jobs they don't like because they're afraid if they go somewhere else, it'll be worse. I love telling a story that I once interviewed for a company that was doing complete AI-based development. The CTO was somebody that wasn't a developer who just wanted to ship software and use Corsair entirely to do it without any real oversight or anything into what was going on there. Fucking wild. Absolutely wild. People are spending all the time trying to get good at prompting and feeling bad because they're failing. This whole thing is swear word bullshit. Uh-oh, he said it. So if you're a developer feeling pressure to adopt these tools by your manager, the funny thing is he's used this little thing here, and this is like an AI symbol now. And I told my wife about this, and she was raging because she uses this a lot, actually, because she's English literature, like, qualified, whatever you call it, degree or whatever. So she actually knows how to use correct punctuation and stuff like that. And I said to her, yeah, you can't use this anymore because it'll just flag up that you're an AI generated CV or something like that. She was fucking fuming. So if you're a developer feeling pressure to adopt these tools by your manager, your peers, or the general industry hysteria, trust your gut. If these tools feel clunky, if they're slowing you down, if you're confused how other people can be so productive, you're not broken. The data backs up what you're experiencing. You're not failing, behind, sticking with what you know works. If you're feeling brave, show your manager these charts and ask them what they think about it. Which I'm going to do. I'm going to send them on to some developers I know and see what they think. If you take away anything from this, it should be A, developers aren't shipping anything more than they were before. That's the only metric that matters. And B, if someone, whether your CEO, your tech lead, or some Reddit dork, that'd be me, claims that they'll never 10x because of AI, it's almost assuredly untrue. Demand they show receipts or shut the fuck up. Uh-oh. So, this is... let's just get into it, blah blah blah. I think these are just questions and this is just sources. So let's get into this then, because there's a little bit here that I kind of want to talk about in regards to my own personal AI usage. And this came up, I think it was with the MIT study, which I think kind of came out and everyone was like, yeah, this is a thing, but it's less than what they basically described it as being. So the one thing I kind of wanted to bring in to the end of this article and to sort of end of our time talking about this is kind of my experiences with AI and how it has kind of impacted my own development sort of life, sort of workflow, work cycle, whatever you want to call it. The one thing it is measurably impacted is my ability to like go forward and just do stuff. I don't know if that's because I am much more aware of like my own sort of limitations in regards to my own mental health and that kind of thing. So as a new dad, not getting much sleep tends to lead to you feeling a little bit like as if I had a coding problem, right, and it's 11 o'clock at night and I need to get it done, has to be done, there will just be a mental block in my head that makes it not happen. It just won't happen. Like, you can sit down, can look at the editor, and I'll be distracted with 10,000 other things before I would ever do that. I'd rather watch paint dry than look at that issue. There's nothing I can do to do it, nothing I can do to fix that feeling, other than going to bed, resetting, and getting up the next day and solving it. That's all it takes. I never had that until I turned 28. The other thing is potentially some ADHD thing, whatever else, but that's an own personal thing. I'm not going to bring that into it. But the third thing is then my usage of AI, and I kind of have those two personal things that I'm kind of dealing with, but then AI has slotted in as well at this time frame when those two things affect me. I'm not sure if it's actually also AI. So let's say with our previous example, as I mentioned, I'm using, for example, I'm going to bring up this because this is what I'm kind of relying on to sort of emphasize my problem. If I get a ticket in and there's some CSS issues, some things aren't like centering or whatever else, there'll be days where I see that and I go away, go solve it. Happy days. It's done in 10 minutes, if that. Everyone's happy. But there are some days where the thought of going in and trying to, alright, let's put a breakpoint here and get a padding for this and do that and maybe even align this over here, or maybe that is hard. And that's where AI really does save me. But is that feeling happening because I know all I need to go is go over to JetBrains Junior and go, hey, do this ticket for me, I can't be asked, and then I just sit back and just do this. Like, that's not healthy. That's not healthy for anyone. If a bricklayer was laying bricks and he could just go and get the robot and be like, I'll go put that wall up, I'll sit over here. Right, that's not healthy for anybody. Like, that attitude, that thing. So I'm kind of seeing that happening and going, right, I obviously have to pull back a little bit in terms of my AI, or a big bit in terms of my AI usage. It's clearly impacting me being able to like go forward and do things. And what I've seen, last couple of months or so was a study came out from MIT that suggests people who rely on AI tools are worse off. It's actually impacting like reduced brain activity. And I think a follow-up came out from MIT or the sort of summary which was like, don't draw too many conclusions to this. Nothing's based at 100%, and people are basically drawing the wrong conclusions for it. But what I found really interesting is that when I seen that study and I seen the headlines and I seen the article, it resonated with me so much because I was like, finally, somebody's talking about what I am experiencing. And whenever I hear on the radio, people are starting to use AI. Yes, I still listen to the radio in 2025. People are starting to use AI, and they're not there yet. They've not used it to the extent that I am, where it basically auto-completes lines and it can do entire features. They're just using it to ask some silly questions and do monologues and the impressions of like different actors and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. What's that for? But there's some industries where it's not even allowed to be used, like financial industries and whatever else, because of the code it can output. And I guess that's maybe why it's not like a widespread thing yet, because people just can't use it. And a lot of these companies, software developers, are kind of the first hurdle. And maybe we are more impacted by that brain fog, that can't really do things because you're just a bit too busy. Maybe it's just the start-stop nature of our work, where maybe it impacts people more, maybe it impacts people less. I'd love to see more research into it, but I can definitely say that I feel that this MIT study thing affects me, even if the conclusions they came to was not specifically the ones that I was considering. So, another study highlights the risk of LLMs, tools such as ChatGPT. MIT Media Lab researchers found that using ChatGPT and similar tools to write essays resulted in lower brain activity. The study titled Your Brain on ChatGPT, Accumulation of Cognitive Debt when Using AI Assistant for an Easy Essay Writing Task also suggests that those who relied on AI tools got worse at writing essays when asked to perform that task with the assistance of ChatGPT or similar tools. So, this is one thing I've noticed, which I'm kind of happy about, is that whenever I do a fresh install of Windows or format my MacBook for the 100th time, and I put in PHP Storm and whatever else, and it's just doing the usual sort of language server autocomplete thing, I don't notice that it isn't using AI. It's not until it gets into it, and I'm like, oh wait, that's not actually, that's just the autocomplete thing that I've used before. So I'm still able to code. I've not went that bad, so that I can still basically do things, and you still do. Like, AI doesn't know all the APIs. We had a product that we had to integrate with, and their API documentation wasn't correct. Like, they sent us over auth methods. It was meant to be using OAuth. It wasn't. So we had to like reverse engineer the network calls that were coming from the web page, and just like, so if you're logging in, looking in network console, see how it logs, and then doing that in our app to actually log in. And it's like, is this the way that we should be doing things? And they're like, yeah, you can do it that way. And it's like, what? So like, ChatGPT can't figure that out, you know what I mean? Like, that's not going to be a thing. Unless it's literally interfacing with the app directly and trying to like break into it somehow. ChatGPT is not ever going to figure out how to do that. You need a human to do that, because it knows how far it can go, effectively. Maybe one day it can, but I don't think so. Anyway, the study had a small sample size of 54 people between the ages of 18 and 39, so that kind of answers my age question from before. And in regards to this study, it would have been good to hear that with the other one, in regards to the vibe coding or whatever else, the using Corsair on different repos and stuff. They were split into 3 groups: a brain-only group, a group that could use traditional search engine, a group that could use LLM tools such as ChatGPT. Those who used LLMs to complete the task experienced 32% lower cognitive load than those who used traditional software interfaces. They also had less frustration during the process, because LLMs do be frustrating, but also so does documentation. A key takeaway is that people who use LLMs during the study used less mental effort to get into information. Well, that's hardly surprising. It explains why some would be tempted to use AI tools to complete assignments. Because as a human, you're always going to do the thing that is the most easiest. That's why cheating and cheating in games is like the prime example of, if you can win every game, well, why wouldn't you? So that's what some people think. Is that it's just a case of, well, other people would cheat. I mean, I can cheat. I can pay $5 for it. I can win every game. It's guaranteed. Why wouldn't I do that? rather than try for 2,000 hours and getting better and all this sort of stuff. You know, it's like you know, they missed the point in it. Maybe the games is a bit stretched, but I think you get what I'm saying. Yeah. A key takeaway: people use this information. In addition to recording higher brain activity, those in the brain-only group report to higher satisfaction regarding ethical considerations. Also, you just feel better because, like, if you implemented a feature and it works, and you're like, "Oh wow, that's great. What's the next one?" When ChatGPT does it, you're just like, "Right, do the next one now, please." It's just like not even saying please. It's just right. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. It's just AI slop being fed into it. That's all it is. It's outputting garbage effectively at the end of the day. At first glance, I just bit my lip. I keep doing that. At first glance, the conclusions of the study appear obvious. The fact that writing an essay takes more brain power than having a tool write the same essay is not surprising. But science is about more than just hunches. It requires evidence and testing hypotheses. So there's a good chance government policies and education standards will also based on the effects of ChatGPT is supporting to get as much information as possible. MIT researchers says much in the conclusion of the study. We believe that longitudinal studies are needed in order to understand the long-term impact of the LLMs on the human brain before LLMs are recognised as something that's a net positive for humans. That's my biggest concern, is that I think, weirdly, it took us 20 years too late to finally understand that social media maybe isn't a good thing for everyone to have. And we're now starting to ban it for 16-year-olds, and some countries even consider just banning it outright because it just doesn't provide you any net good. And we're kind of seeing that with like laptops in schools, mobile devices. Kids were like getting mobile phones, and now it's kind of considered, you know what, this is not a good thing for these people to have. Now they get locked away, put in plastic bags, hidden in desks, that sort of stuff. And we don't want it to happen the same with LLMs, where it's 15 years too late. We have an entire generation of kids which are just brain broken on LLMs. They cannot do anything without first consulting ChatGPT. If you've seen Twitter in its current iteration of whatever version this is that Musk has farted out, every single post, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing because it can be good, will have at Grok, is this true? Like, it takes you no time at all to just copy what it is, put it in Google, and see what it says. Why would you just believe whatever Grok told you? An AI built by a private company ran by Elon Musk. I can't think of anything worse. Like, we're setting people up to just offload all their critical thinking and cognitive load, the little tiny bit they had left to even question anything, to private enterprise. That's concerning. I don't think we should do that. And on that note, I'm going to say that's the end of this video because it's been on for long enough. If you guys liked reading this post by Mr. Mike Judge, let me know. Oh, this is the meter report. I'll be sure to put that in there. Remember, it's at makelovesrobots.substack.com. Make sure to check it out. It's got a fair number of likes and stuff like that. I had done a couple of articles that I was going to read about going away to disaster. And MIT says AI isn't replacing you, it's just wasting your boss's money. But I think we covered quite a bit here. So if you guys do want me to keep going through articles like this, then let me know. And we can go through it together and it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, that's it for this one, guys. Be scared of AI because it's coming for you, and not in a good way, because the company won't even benefit from it replacing you. And hey, you'll be unemployed, but at least you can laugh at their doom. So I guess that's good, I suppose. Have a good one, guys. See you in the next one.